I am Major Alex Gwin. I am the value stream lead of PartyBus at Platform 1. And thanks for joining us today. I'll go ahead and pull up the slides. So good afternoon. I'm Major Alex Gwin at Platform 1, and I'm honored to talk to you today about the challenges of managing a modern DevSecOps platform. Just in the spirit of providing you insight, whether you're a customer and you'd like more insight about some of the challenges of running PartyBus, or maybe you're thinking about setting up some kind of platform of your own in the future. Maybe you're just someone in the DoD government industry that is just curious, or you're in the Platform 1 ecosystem. I think this will apply to all of those use cases and more. So happy to share, and happy to get the conversation started if it means that we're talking about this for the first time with you guys, or continuing a conversation, providing you more insight. Happy to do that. The way I've organized this presentation is, first of all, I'm going to give you an intro on Platform 1 and PartyBus just to make sure we're speaking the same language. And then I'm going to step through 4 particular challenges and expand on those a little bit. That's probably all the time that we have in this time slot. And at the very end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on FY25 and setting the vision and some of the main priorities that we have going into the next fiscal year. And I will leave some time for questions. So if you have a question, I would ask that you just hang on till the end. I'm really bad at watching chat when I'm talking, so we'll just take care of those at the end. Okay, so first of all, just really quick on Platform 1 and PartyBus. Just to make sure that we're all familiar. Some of you may not be too familiar with Platform 1. So Platform 1 is an Air Force organization that is focused on enabling DevSecOps adoption, accelerating adoption, enabling software development throughout the entire DoD. We're based out of San Antonio primarily, but we do have a lot of remote employees all around the country. But our management function is here in San Antonio. We have 4 primary product lines: Iron Bank, Big Bang, Cloud Native Access Point, or CNAP, and PartyBus, which is what we're here to talk about today. We also have dedicated cyber teams and customer experience teams that help all 4 of the 4 main value streams. We do call our product lines value streams because they are providing lines of value, streams of value. And so that's kind of the vernacular that we've gone with. You can think of them as flights if you're a little bit more familiar with the Air Force organizational structure. And Platform 1 is like a squadron, if that helps you put it in context. So Iron Bank is a secure repository of hardened images. They're maintaining currently about 1,600 hardened containers in their repository. And so what Iron Bank is just a known good source of downloading software. So you go to Iron Bank, you know that it's vetted, it's from a secure source. And you can also look at some scorecards of cybersecurity postures. What are the CVEs that are open against that? What actions have been taken? When was the last time it was updated? You can pose a question to the Iron Bank team and get started there. So that's Iron Bank. Big Bang is a platform. It is meant to be a software factory. So if you want to go do software development, download Big Bang and get started that way. There's no point in reinventing the wheel. Just go get Big Bang from us. We spend all the time, developing, updating, putting new features into Big Bang. Just take that and roll with it, and you can add to it if you'd like. But it's a great starting point for you to do software development. Iron Bank and Big Bang are both free. They are free due to the Air Force funding that we get from Platform 1 from higher headquarters. So no need to pay for any Iron Bank or Big Bang services. CNAP is our ingress-egress solution for our cloud environment. They maintain our firewall, our identity provider solution. They maintain our zero trust network architecture, those kinds of security, ingress-egress, identity type of stuff. And then the team that I run is Party Bus, which is what we'll talk about. But Party Bus, just at a very high level, Party Bus is a cloud-hosted, unclassified platform that enables app hosting. That's our primary mission. We partner with Cloud1. They're our infrastructure provider. And we also partner with DAF CloudWorks for classified use cases. Partybus and DAF CloudWorks have a shared set of customers that we call Dev Low Prod High, where they have staging with us and then they have production with DAF CloudWorks. And that enables them to go up to the SIPR level or top secret level. And in my opinion, it's the best case of reciprocity that I've seen in my going on 14 years in DoD. One of those DevLow Prod High customers can get a CTF with us, a certificate to field with us in Platform 1, and it's honored on the DAF CloudWorks side. Just, that's the agreement that we have with them. So the pipelines are replicated up on the high side, so it's a great deal. Additionally to all that, we host a suite of collaboration tools at IL2, 4, and 5. The most popular one is ChatOps. We host Mattermost at all 3 ILs. That has really blown up over the past few years. That's a great capability that's being used operationally, and there's a lot of integrations and automations that I don't have time to go into, but that's a great tool. So we've got those 2 core missions in Party Bus. We've got the app hosting on one side, and we've got the enterprise collab on one side. It's a very dynamic kind of environment. We have a lot of customers. Our customers are only DoD organizations. So if you're a company or a vendor, you have to have a DoD sponsor to get into Party Bus. It's very challenging. We have a lot of customers. We have currently somewhere in the neighborhood of 130 applications, and a lot of those customers will also be enterprise collab customers, but we also have a set of enterprise collab only customers that are only using enterprise collab tools. And that's somewhere in the 50 to 60 organization range. Somewhere just south of 200 unique organizations using Party Bus all across the DoD. We do have organizations from every military department. We have a smattering across all the departments, but Air Force is definitely our most prevalent. So that's a quick intro, and then I'll get into the challenges. So challenge number 1 that I want to talk to you about today. First and foremost, it sounds very simple, but it's about the money. It's the customer funding and paying our bills on time. So Party Bus is a government program in Platform 1. That's our office symbol for Platform 1, HNCX. And as such, there are no considerations about profits, right? We're a government organization. We don't make a profit. We have to balance our books as close to perfectly every fiscal year as we possibly can. So we can't have a profit and we can't be under. If we're under, we're not going to be able to pay our bills, right? So we have to go, walk that fine line of trying to perfectly hit, and tracking our bills to a very fine degree throughout the fiscal year. In general, our costs are split into 3 categories: labor, infrastructure, and licenses. Labor is the majority of our costs in Party Bus. A quick note about our acquisition strategy. In Platform 1, we have a lot of contracts. That is something that is, I wouldn't say it's necessarily unique, but it's not very common in the DoD. The way we approach acquisitions is that we do not want to depend on one single company for anything. So just in Party Bus, we have 6 labor contracts for my team. I've got a team of total of 60 people. That includes military and civilians too, so subtract out some government folks. But six separate labor contracts for my team. So that is, on one side it's challenging. It creates a lot of work. Source selections, managing the contracts, managing the money on each of those contracts. But the benefits to us far outweigh the costs. And this goes into Major Jordan's presentation, kind of segues into some of his talking points. I think he's given another talk later this week. He talked to DeFitic as well, but he's giving a rehash of that presentation. I would definitely encourage that. It's about Software factories not being special. Basically, any organization can be a software factory and adopt some of the methodologies that we've adopted in Platform One. So I'd really recommend that one. But yeah, so labor is the majority of our costs. We also have cloud. So we are cloud hosted, nothing on premise or hybrid for us in PartyBus. It's all cloud. And our provider is Cloud One and HNII. And then we also have licenses. So just in PartyBus, we have over 10 license contracts sequenced throughout the year. So that in and of itself is pretty challenging when we have hundreds of thousands of users. PartyBus is 100% customer funded. We do not receive any money from Big Air Force or Big DoD to run the PartyBus platform. Our bills are on the order of $30 million per year. That's just our bills, right? We're not thinking about revenue about profit because we don't, we're not in the profit space. So we have $30 million worth of bills that we have to sequence and make sure that are paid throughout the year. And because we're customer funded, we have to sequence the customer funds to come in to pay those bills at the right time. So when we talk about things like continuing resolution, and our customers say that they don't have money to send early in the fiscal year, that could be very difficult, and forces us to get kind of creative. Also we have customers that don't pay on time for one reason or another. That they have their internal challenges, their internal priorities in their organization, and for one reason or another, they're late on their funding. They're not replying to us. Some of those organizations just kind of ignoring us. Not all of them, but that happens from time to time, and so we have to get their attention and keep following up. But by and large, we have great customers that are very responsive and communicate with us about the challenges that they have, and we work with customers to work around that. But so yeah, you can understand the environment that we're in, where we have a bill on a certain date and we are tracking money to come in to pay for that bill, but a customer says that they're not able to, or the funding is late. We do receive money that we call the P1 wedge. So what that is money from Platform One as a customer of PartyBus. And that is a little south of 10% of our total budget. So it's not a huge, kind of pot that we can dip into, but it is there as a little bit of a lifesaver in a very sticky situation. And so yeah, that is nice. But basically, P1 is just paying for all of the services that they're using, Enterprise Collab, and then also some internal apps that are in our PartyBus pipelines that they're paying for. We have a customer experience team. We call that P1CE, and that's led by Eileen Garza. She has done a great job to expand our team over the past year as she's come on board and make our processes more robust, make sure that our communication is consistent across the board, and working with customers to be able to work with them and take the time to work with them. So that has been a very big benefit for us in PartyBus, is getting Eileen on board and expanding our customer experience team. That's helped us a lot. Also, I talked a little bit about bill sequencing, but what I mean by that is it's not great to have, things like bills all due early in the fiscal year when Congress may or may not pass a budget. There may or may not be continuing resolution, which is going to impact some customers. It's also not great to have a lot of bills right at the end of the fiscal year. The end of the fiscal year in the government's pretty hectic. A lot of closeout actions that contracts working. They have cutoff timelines for new efforts, and there's a lot of challenges there. So it's good to think strategically about when contracts are going to come up for renewal and when they need to be paid, and kind of sequence those smartly throughout the year. Regular communication from our P1CE team as well as from PartyBus is very important. I've talked about that. License cost control is another big one. we were able to cut off several $1 million from our license contracts over the past year, simply due to right sizing. Previously we weren't keeping great track of our total usage numbers by organization at a high level, and so we were overpaying. But we cut those down, and we were able to save a few million on that. That was huge. So just in general, license cost control for an enterprise provider or for a platform provider is very important. And then also cloud monitoring. I do touch on cloud monitoring a little later in the presentation, but just in general, infrastructure monitoring and monitoring those costs is very important for a platform provider. And we have some ways to improve that I'm going to talk about later. So I'll go on to the next challenge. It's actually this one right here, insight to cloud usage. I didn't realize it was second. So monitoring multi-tenant cloud usage for us is definitely something that is a challenge. I feel like we've done a good job, but we're going to be going from good to great here over the next fiscal year. In general, cloud technology has several important benefits that allow programs to modernize. You've probably seen DoD mandates for cloud modernization coming out. It's kind of like the next wave of infrastructure kind of modernization. But when you combine cloud with container technology like Kubernetes, it really allows you to have a lot of power in how you're maintaining your platform. You can scale up or scale down as needed. Kubernetes is able to swap in resources if something goes down. You can set up like blue-green deployments in your cloud as well, and maximizing uptime for customers. And then it also allows you to transfer costs where if you have, like, for instance, if you're maintaining your own servers with your own engineers maintaining those Windows servers or whatever they are, you're able to transfer those costs to the cloud. And then at least theoretically, you'll be able to save costs because you are like a drop in the bucket of the larger AWS, Azure, Google Cloud machine, right? And you can offload the maintenance of that to someone else. I say theoretically because you have to walk through the costs and see how much it's going to cost. You have to do due diligence, but it has a lot of benefits. So billing and specifically in a multi-tenant environment is a challenge for us because that's the situation we're in where we have about 130 different applications. Infrastructure providers typically have a delay with their billing. Our infrastructure provider in particular delays about 2 months, 2 to 3 months, depending on where you are in the billing cycle. So if I make a change in my infrastructure to try to save costs or I add a new customer, I'm not going to see the ramifications for that in an actual, bill that I can see in about 2 months. So that makes it a real challenge to be able to understand the cause and effect of changes that you're making and how that affects the cost. In FY24, we started a partnership with KubeCost, which has been a great partnership that has allowed us to do a much better job of monitoring our cloud costs. We're still ramping up, in terms of knowledge on KubeCost, but it's already been great for us. You may have heard recently that they were acquired by IBM. By no means like sponsoring KubeCost or anything, but we are a partner with KubeCost, and they've been a great partner. So this allows us to track costs in near real time. There is a very short delay, but you're taking that very long cause effect chain from months down to hours, which is huge for us. We're a very agile organization and we're trying to constantly improve. But if we have to wait 2 months to understand the cause effect of something, that's simply not going to work for us, and it's not going to work for our customers either. So in KubeCost, you can directly allocate namespaces Obviously, you might be familiar with namespaces, but in KubeCost, you can say, okay, this is the namespace of this particular customer. These are the cloud resources that I can add into their, they call it a collection. And then, so that belongs to that customer, this belongs to this customer. Then I can track those costs over time. The challenge with KubeCost and just multi-tenant platform hosting in general is all of the indirect costs. By indirect costs, I mean things that multiple customers are sharing. They're not directly attributable to one particular customer. So think of things like our scanning tools. We do a lot of scanning in PartyBus, providing the security aspect of DevSecOps. So there's a lot of scanning there that all of our customers are sharing, and they eat up a lot of resources. Well, I can't put them in one collection for one particular customer. I have to share them across. So thinking through that and doing that the right way with all those indirect costs or overhead costs is the challenge. So going forward in FY25, we've roadmapped a new feature that we're calling a cumulus, like a cumulus cloud and then accumulating costs, a cumulus. It's something that we're developing internally. We're going to pull data from KubeCost, and then we're going to pull data separately from Odoo, which is the CRM capability that we're using. The Odoo data will provide us actual funding amounts that customers have sent in and what those are for, what line items they funded. So we're able to pair the two together where we say, okay, here's your cumulative cloud usage. Here's the line of what you pay. You're approaching that based on a regression of the past, 3 months. You're on track to hit your funded amount on time, or say, a quarter early or something like that. So that's the idea there. So that will provide a lot of transparency, even more transparency. So customers will be able to check that dashboard 24/7 and go look at their cloud usage. That'll be updated every few minutes, say every 5-10 minutes. So that'll be huge. Okay, going on to the third challenge. Technical debt. This is by no means something original. Every platform, every organization that's in IT is dealing with some kind of technical debt. You don't necessarily have to be in software development to have some kind of backlog. But I wanted to talk a little bit about how, our thought process and how we're approaching that. Excuse me, I'm going to get a quick drink. So we constantly battle with the dilemma of implement a new feature versus work on the backlog. We have no shortage of customers coming to us saying, asking questions, wanting this or wanting that, wanting something changed, wanting a brand new feature. The ideal solution in my mind is when we can provide those quick wins to customers, where we can very easily or rather quickly provide them something that really provides them a lot of capability in their app. And there are a lot of those quick wins. So it's awesome when we can do that. However, that's not always possible. Sometimes we have to be able to think about trade-offs. Like, okay, if we implement this new feature, what is the what is the expense? What are the opportunity costs, I guess is the term. What are we going to not be able to do over here in our backlog? Like, especially when things are infrastructure related, like the ops team or just things that are behind the scenes. Customers don't see that evidently, so they don't see a feature. They don't see their feature released, or they don't see some kind of new capability. They think that we're not. Not all the time, but they might think that we're not up to anything, or we're not working on something important. When we may be just enabling things or getting things out of our backlog that have been there a while, and we need to clean it up. So that's the constant kind of trade-off that we have to make. No customer likes to hear no, of course, and we always like to say yes. But sometimes we do have to tell our customers no. And it comes down to, sometimes you have to make customers, just say, hey, it's not going to work out just on this timeline that you're looking for. Or sometimes you have to even say, no, that's outside the scope of the kinds of things that we want to support on our platform. And that's a real bummer when that happens, but sometimes you have to tell customers that, like, no, we do not plan on implementing that. It's out of scope. It's going to be too difficult to maintain. It's going to cost too much, or whatever the reason is. So earlier this year, we did implement a new customer dashboard for new features. So that's something that's worked pretty well. This morning, we actually met. The Party Bus leadership team met to go over some of those new features that have been requested in the past couple of weeks. So what we do is we have a public intake form where folks can go say that they would like a feature. If something's already on the board that they would like, they can upvote particular features. So that allows us to see patterns of new features, new capabilities that customers are interested in. And we've had a lot of interest in that. We've had a lot of inputs already, and we've started to roll out some new capabilities. I think we've rolled out probably half a dozen, kind of some of those small wins based on that board. So that's been going really well. So that enables us to hear directly from customers on some of their most requested features. And then we're honest in the cards too, like, hey, this is low priority for us for this reason. It may simply be like, this is a very high magnitude level of effort. There aren't any upvotes. It doesn't seem like other people are necessarily interested in this, those kinds of things. Internally within our team, we divide duties to focus on backlog, feature development, and customer support tasks. So we have this clear division of duties of who's focusing on what, and then when we can, we rotate people around to keep them fresh and have an understanding of the other side. We do publish a public roadmap on our website. We do that per fiscal year. So we will be posting the FY25 roadmap for all of Platform One very soon. That'll be posted on our public website, which is p1.dso.mil. We are going through the final efforts of briefing that up the chain of command for approval, and then we're going to post it out. So I'm really excited about this next fiscal year. We have something like 35 different key results, different kind of efforts, lines of efforts that we're tracking. I'm really excited about it. But in the end, it comes down to making game time decisions sometimes. The intake form is one thing that's worked really well for us, and we'll continue to do that. But in the end, it's just kind of like judgment calls here. The leadership team on the platform of talking, just being honest, like, is that something that we feel like we can support? Is it within the scope of what we should support? What's the magnitude to get there? How long is it going to take to develop this feature? And then having clear communication with the customers. We're not trying to hide anything in Party Bus. So just having that clear communication with the customers, like, hey, these are some of our concerns. And then maybe we can meet in the middle. Maybe they have some insight that we don't have, but the clear communication is very helpful as well. Okay, I will go over to the fourth challenge. Delivering optimal value. All right, so this is definitely a big one. It's a very kind of nebulous one, so I'm going to chunk this up. So in Platform One, what we do is we use objectives and key results, or OKRs, for goal setting at a very high level. Metrics play a huge part in monitoring the progress for that, and I've seen that in this job. I'll give you some examples. But if you haven't heard of the book, I'm sure many of you have, but if you haven't heard of the book, Measure What Matters by John Doerr, go check it out. It's a great reference, and that is what our OKR system in Platform One is based upon, is that book. A lot of organizations have had success with that, and it's worked for us too. To be honest, we have improved a lot over the past several years in Platform One. We are constantly improving on our OKRs and our metrics and how we're organized to do all that goal setting. So we're constantly improving, nowhere near perfect. So as a DevSecOps platform for Party Bus, some, but not all, of our most important objectives are the following. Effectiveness of the platform to meet customers' requirements. like at a bottom line, is Party Bus doing its job? Is it working? Because customers are going to speak with their money. They go somewhere else, or they'll tell us, this is not, Party Bus is not doing what I needed to do for X, Y, and Z reasons. Customer service is very important. I talked about P1 customer experience team, but also we have a big focus on customer experience within the platform team here too. Things like responsiveness, customer satisfaction, enabling self-help whenever we can, documentation. One metric in this kind of area would be that the number of help tickets decreases over time due to enabling self-help and documentation. If a customer can solve their own problem or go to know where to look to get the answers that they need, that's the ideal thing. I mean, we don't want to force customers to put in tickets for a bunch of different reasons. So that's a great example. Also, the time and effort it takes to get to staging and production. So this is, since I've taken over, this has been one of my big emphasis is the amount of time for a customer starting out onboarding with us all the way getting to staging and production. How long is that taking? And measuring that. We have begun to actually measure that metric on a monthly basis for all of the customers that have gone to either staging and production in that month. Like, what is the average and how is that trending over time? Also, the time and effort it takes to get a certificate to field. So we, in Party Bus, we understand that one of the biggest selling points for us is the certificate to field continuous ATO process. Going out and getting your own ATO as a DoD organization is pretty onerous. I've been involved in that. You typically have to hire an RMF expert. You have to have an AO that's understanding of your situation, that's willing to work with you, and people in between, that middle management, like your SCAs. They have to be willing to work with you and understand what you're trying to do. And then the money aspect is it costs a lot of money to get your own ATO out there. So that's a big selling point for Party Bus, is being able to have an accelerated timeline to get a certificate to field, which is required to get into production. So we want to be able to measure that, and we do. The number of organizations that are getting a CTF each month or a renewal CTF each month, how long that's taking on average, so we can track that over time. So tracking those metrics, these kinds of metrics, these are 4 kind of high-level ones, but tracking these metrics, and not only tracking the metrics, but how they trend over time is really important. I think that's where the power is. And once you have your OKRs set, you start to collect metrics along how you're achieving those OKRs, and then how the data is trending over time. Are you trending in the right direction? Are you trending up or down? And then having discussions about that data. That allows you to create transparency with your team of what the situation is. Your team is not going to rally around there being a problem if they don't see the problem, if they don't see the data showing that there is a problem. It's going to be hard to motivate folks to rally around and try to fix that problem. We've had multiple instances where we have done that metrics collection. Like, one example would be the time to get to production. We started measuring that. And to be honest, when I started out in this job earlier this year, it was higher than I would have liked. So we started, collecting that over a couple months. Like, okay, that number is staying pretty steady. It wasn't an anomaly the first month we started collecting that. So then we started to have conversations, and engineers were saying things like, wow, that's longer than I thought it was. Like, okay, what's going on here? So we started digging in. At our next cohort, we were whiteboarding it all, picking apart the various steps of the process. The scanning of the pipelines is the longest part of the process. So we've gotten to the root cause. Okay, so how can we dig into that? Lots of whitelisting, lots of tickets going back and forth between people. So now we've kind of identified some of the things, and we have ways to go out and tackle those. So that's an example. But yeah, that's happened multiple times where team members were like, wow, I did not realize that was how long it took, or that was as high or as low as it was. But you collect the data and it allows your team to rally around that problem, which is really powerful. And that also results in, not necessarily you internally changing something, but it could result in a new contract, a new partnership with another organization, change in implementation strategy. It could lead to team members just coming up with new ideas and just surprising you with, their original ideas, which is awesome. But we also have our industry days capability in P1, and so we've sponsored multiple organizations for phase 1 and phase 2 cybers, which has been really cool, and that has resulted in some new partnerships that has come out of some of this OKR setting and metrics collection. Okay, so those are 4 of the main challenges that I wanted to discuss. Then I want to finish off this presentation before doing questions with talking a little bit about the horizon, specifically this next fiscal year of our goal setting and some of our priorities. First of all, FY25 for us is going to be unofficially the year of putting data in the hands of our customers. We have 3 main efforts where we're going to be able to do this for customers. First of all, multi-tenant cloud usage and funding dashboard. I talked about that earlier. That's called Accumulus. We've already gotten started on it, and we're really excited about providing that capability, and that'll be available for free for our customers. The second one is user metrics. Things like how many people are accessing my application, when are they accessing it during the day or during the week, during the month. What is the latency that they're experiencing, those kinds of user monitoring things. So we've actually partnered with Bestman. We just got a contract awarded with them, and we have some announcements coming out very soon via our marketing team about that. So we're really excited about that partnership. We're going to be able to onboard customers for very cheaply for that capability. And then the third is logging and monitoring. Mostly RAM and CPU usage is what customers are wanting. They want the feedback loop of, I need the data to be able to know how can I adjust my application to make it optimized. So this third one is the last one that we're working on. We are doing an analysis of alternatives of some various options, and hopefully we'll chart out a path on that very soon. But those are the 3 kind of main areas where we're going to be putting data in the hands of our customers this next fiscal year. We're doing a lot of automation in our mission DevOps team. I talked a little bit about digging apart the process of getting from onboarding to production and how long that's taking. Automation is very big there. It's going to play a big part. We're calling that pipeline factory. It's just kind of like an internal name for that, but you can think of it as like hit a button and I get a merge request for a pipeline. Automating a lot of those processes between onboarding and production. It's going to be very important. We want to streamline support for web applications. We see a big use case in the DoD for organizations wanting to build simple web applications using tech stacks like MERN or PERN. So what we want to do is streamline that, leverage some of the automation work that we're doing, and streamline support for those organizations to get them onboarded very quickly and get them to production very quickly. And so what I expect there is that we'll be able to drive down costs due to time decreasing, amount of support required, and that will drive up a higher volume of web application customers. So that's what we're expecting this next year. Expansion of chat ops. So this is a big one. I've been talking mostly like app hosting type of stuff, but us hosting chat ops and continuing to expand that is a huge mission enabler for the DoD. And within the Air Force, we are rolling chat ops out to another major command here very soon. And people are, at the major command level, they're seeing what Air Mobility Command is doing, and they're just blown away with not only the the SaaS solution, but partnered with how we're hosting it in Platform One securely is really powerful. We're also able to make data connections to other platforms like Envision and Advana and get that data flowing, which is just a mission enabler. So yeah, and then just in general, with a lot of other smaller things, continuing to innovate, provide value to our customers while increasing efficiency. I mean, that's what it's all about. We're going to be posting our FY25 roadmap on p1.dso.mil. So that's our website. That should be going live here, within the next couple of weeks as we get approval to post that. So we're very excited about that. A lot of the FY25 efforts we've already started on, but we're excited about posting that and formally getting out there for the next fiscal year. Okay, so that is the vision for FY25 for all the big rocks. So yeah, we've got approximately 17 minutes left in this time slot. I will turn it over to Q&A.
Major Gwin, Roger Crombie at Blue Ivy Partners. This is great. Quick question for you though. What do you see, and maybe, I don't know if you think in these terms, like, what do you see the growth potential of Party Bus over the next 1 to 2 years? So you think, if you use the numbers 200 customers, I think you referenced 30 million in sort of inflows from them. What do you see that could be in 1 to 2 years, if you think in those terms? And the other would be like, how do you approach that growth? Does the platform sell itself? Do you have outreach efforts? Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, so we're not a traditional company, so we don't think of things in terms of profit, like I said. We think of things mostly in terms of just mission capability. What we're here for is to enable the mission. I guess in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter how many customers we have, but we know the power of DevSecOps, of software, and how software is closing the gap. It's providing a lot of capabilities in the DoD that weren't possible otherwise. So for that reason, we're trying to reach as many organizations and provide DevSecOps capabilities. And we're trying to offload everything that goes into developing software so that our customers can only focus on the software development piece and we maintain the platform. So with that said, I think that a lot of the automation work that we're doing and the MERN-PERN streamlined support is going to drive up customers quite a bit. We have a KR for something like 15% growth due to those web apps customers, but I think it's going to be well higher than that after we get it onboarded, because we're going to be able to decrease costs through all the automation. The biggest thing keeping your everyday squadron away from Party Bus is just lack of budget. They don't have large budgets. These small organizations, discretionary budget's very small. So I could see us over the long run, I would say 2 to 3 years, I could see us doubling our number of organizations. How do we keep up with that? Yeah, we have to grow, not just, in that way, but grow our processes and adapt and mold to be able to support that number of customers. We have to also grow our team. Even if we have automation, we have to kind of grow our team to support that. And then P1CE handles our marketing and stuff like that. So a new process that we've started is between the Party Bus and P1CE leadership teams, we meet every 2 weeks to sync up on priorities, things like new features that we have coming out in the next few months, take a look at the roadmap. We talk about communication strategies, adoption, that new feature that we released a month ago, how many people are actually using it. That's another, key metric for us. So we sync up about every sprint or about every 2 weeks, and we move out on communication strategies that way.
Thanks. It's really helpful. I think everyone sees the potential. It's interesting to kind of think how you think about the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Alex, we got a couple questions here in the chat from Hank Marathew. So I'm just going to read that off to you. He says here, we're looking to determine the best avenue, how we can help P1 support customer needs. Challenge number 1, you mentioned 6 labor contracts exist. Will you continue to use these contracts or will they move to the marketplace? Also, who funds these labor contracts?
Yeah, so the P1 Marketplace, I guess I'll put in a little plug for that. Stephen Gronheim is presenting later this week on P1 Marketplace. So if you go to the LinkedIn page for P1, you'll find the link for that. There's like 4 of them this week. Go to the P1 Marketplace because that, for all the vendor partners out there, that's going to be very informational, and he'll talk about the rollout of that. Our contracts, we're on our previous BOA, basic ordering agreement. You can think of it as like a way to award contracts very easily. So another service that Platform One provides that I didn't talk about that at the beginning, but it is an offering, was the BOA. So organizations across the DoD were able to leverage the BOA to award their own contracts in an efficient manner, and we awarded billions of dollars on our BOA. The BOA is coming to an end, and the follow-on, you can think of, P1 Marketplace is like a follow-on BOA 3.0 or whatever. So the BOA, it will be ending just naturally due to the length of the BOA, and then the P1 Marketplace is the follow-on effort. So as our contracts end in Party Bus and in the other value streams, we will transition over to the P1 Marketplace as a way to organize our contracts. P1 Marketplace is modeled after the DoD CDAO Marketplace. So you can go check that out. Basically, the model is that vendors submit videos instead of written proposals. So you'll have a 5-minute video. So if I'm a DoD organization, I can go watch a 5-minute video from somebody to get a feeling of whether or not they're a good fit. And then there's an accompanying tech eval that we do that say, yeah, based on these categories, they're like on a number kind of scale, like they're right here out of this range kind of thing, and then give them an overall rating. But Stephen Gronheim is going to talk about it in a lot more detail later this week. And the second part of the question is who pays for the contracts? All those labor bills, not only labor, but cloud and also licenses, our customers do, right? So we have a very complex kind of cost model where we sit down with P1CE every quarter and look at our cost model. We look at all of the revenue, projected revenue. We organize customers and support levels and different features that they're paying for, numbers of customers, what are the trends of customers? Are we expecting an increase, based on, whatever kind of trend analysis? And we divide out the cost of our services and we take a look at that every quarter. But our customers are paying for 100% of our bills.
So continuing with Hank's questions here, he's put challenge number 3. Can we view the customer dashboard to identify our capabilities that map to customer needs? Does the public tech roadmap serve as the information sharing with industry?
Yeah, so the roadmap is a great place. I'll answer the second part. Roadmap's a great place to go look to understand what are the kinds of things that P1 is focused on. Another great area is the industry days that I talked about. So we are doing industry days every quarter. So we have done 2 or 3 of them now, and we do them out at Catalyst Campus. So what we do is we say, hey, these are the big kinds of problems. Like these are the big rocks that we need to solve. Like this may be on our roadmap, but we don't have like a fine-grained, detailed solution of how to implement this. Industry, can you think about ways to solve this and come pitch it to us at our industry days? So that's a great solution. We advertise that on LinkedIn. About every quarter we hold one, and so we're looking for another one. Probably do the holidays. It'll be at the very start of calendar year 25. So that's another great opportunity there. I do not remember the first part of the question, but I might have possibly answered it.
Yeah, I'll repeat it for you real quick. It's can we view the customer dashboard to identify our capabilities that map to customer needs? I think he's asking maybe about the roadmap there.
Roadmap, yeah, that's the dashboard that comes to mind. The only other dashboard I talked about was the cloud cost dashboard, which I don't think would apply in this case. But yeah, the roadmap, and you'll be able to see every value stream and then organized into now, next, later when we're working on it.
Yeah, and then his final question was, how do we get added to the interested attendee list for the industry days? So we post that on our LinkedIn page, but you can also just shoot me your email address and I can email you that registration form and things like that once we start coming back around on our next industry day.
Yeah, and something also on the industry days that I want to talk about is we last time people that were interested but weren't accepted to pitch at industry days, they still came out to learn more about Platform One and just to talk to the other industry partners that were there and try to network. So that's another great opportunity too. Like if you have an idea for industry days but you don't get selected to pitch, just because we only have so much time when we're there, there's an opportunity to still come out and hear about some of the problems that we're focused on and hear directly from our material leader, Lieutenant Colonel Norris, and our CTO, Lieutenant Colonel Katie. But yeah, LinkedIn is probably the best place to check for us. That's where we're constantly putting stuff out. So that is the best place. If you know somebody, I guess you can reach out like Uriel. He might put you on some kind of distribution list or something like that. But LinkedIn is where we're constantly posting this kind of stuff. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about. If you do have a question in the future at some point, feel free to hit me up. You can shoot me an email or contact me on LinkedIn, and we can get discussion started there. But happy to talk to you guys about some of these kinds of problems and whether or not you're focused on these like internally in your organization too, or potential customer, potential industry partner, or whatever. Happy to talk. But yeah, I guess we'll close it up if no one else has any more questions. We got about 5 or 6 minutes left. Okay, nothing heard. Well, thanks everybody for attending. See you around.